The three questions. King Akbar was very fond of Burble. This made a certain courtier very jealous. Now this courtier always wanted to be chief minister, but this was not possible as Burble filled that position. One day Akbar praised Burble in front of the courtier. This made the courtier very angry, and he said that the king praised Burble unjustly, and if Burble could answer 3 of his questions, he would accept the fact that Burble was intelligent. Akbar, always wanting to test Burble's wit, readily agreed. The 3 questions were: 1. How many stars are there in the sky? 2. Where is the center of the earth? And 3. How many men and how many women are there in the world? Immediately Akbar asked Burble the 3 questions and informed him that if he could not answer them, he would have to resign as chief minister. To answer the first question, Burble brought a hairy sheep and said, "There are as many stars in the sky as there is hair on the sheep's body. My friend the courtier is welcome to count them if he likes." To answer the second question, Burble drew a couple of lines on the floor and bore an iron rod in it and said, "This is the center of the earth. The courtier may measure it himself if he has any doubts." In answer to the third question, Burble said, counting the exact number of men and women in the world would be a problem, as there are some specimens like our courtier friend here who cannot easily be classified as either. Therefore, if all people like him are killed, then and only then can one count the exact number. Moral: there is always a way. The wicked Barble's plight. As we all know, Burble was not only Emperor Akbar's favorite minister but also a minister dearly loved by most of the commoners, because of his ready wit and wisdom. People used to come to him from far and wide for advice on personal matters too. However, there was a group of ministers that were jealous of his growing popularity and disliked him intensely. They outwardly showered him with praise and compliments, but on the inside, they began to hatch a plot to kill him. One day they approached the king's barber with a plan. As the barber was extremely close to the king, they asked him to help them get rid of Burble permanently. And of course, they promised him a huge sum of money in return. The wicked barber readily agreed. The next time the king required his services, the barber started a conversation about the emperor's father, who he also used to serve. He sang praises of his fine, silky smooth hair, and then as an afterthought, he asked the king that as he was enjoying such great prosperity, had he made an attempt to do anything for the welfare of his ancestors? The king was furious at such impertinent stupidity and told the barber that it was not possible to do anything because they were already dead. The barber mentioned that he knew of a magician who could come of help. The magician could send a person up to heaven to inquire about his father's welfare. But of course this person would have to be chosen carefully. He would have to be intelligent enough to follow the magician's instructions as well as make on-the-spot decisions. He must be wise, intelligent and responsible. The barber then suggested the best person for the job, the wisest of all ministers, Burble. The king was very excited about hearing from his dead father and asked the barber to go ahead and make the arrangements immediately. He asked him what was needed to be done. The barber explained that they would take Burble in a procession to the burial grounds and light a pyre. The magician would then chant some mantras as Burble would ascend to the heavens through the smoke. The chanting would help protect Burble from the fire. The king happily informed Burble of this plan. Burble said that he thought it a brilliant idea and wanted to know the brain behind it. When learning that it was the barber's idea, he agreed to go to heaven on condition that he be given a large sum of money for the long journey as well as 1 month's time to settle his family so that they had no trouble while he was gone. The king agreed to both conditions. In the duration of this month, he got a few trustworthy men to build a tunnel from the funeral grounds to his house. And on the day of the ascension, after the pyre had been lit, Burble escaped through the concealed door of the tunnel. He disappeared into his house where he hid for a few months while his hair and beard grew long and unruly. In the meantime, his enemies were rejoicing as they thought that they had seen the last of Burble. Then one day after many months, Burble arrived at the palace with news of the king's father. The king was extremely pleased to see him and ready with a barrage of questions. Burble told the king that his father was in the best of spirits and had been provided with all the comforts except one. The king wanted to know what was lacking because now he thought he had found a way to send things and people to heaven. Burble answered that there were no barbers in heaven, which is why even he was forced to grow his own beard. He said that his father had asked for a good barber. So the king decided to send his own barber to serve his father in heaven. He called both the barber and the magician to prepare to send him to heaven. The barber could say absolutely nothing in his own defense as he was caught in his own trap. And once the pyre was lit, he died on the spot. Nobody dared to conspire against Burble again. Burble's wisdom. One fine day, Akbar lost his ring. When Burble arrived in the court, Akbar told him, "I have lost my ring. My father had given it to me as a gift. Please help me find it." Burble said, "Do not worry, your majesty, I will find your ring right now." He said, "Your majesty, the ring is here in this court itself. It is with one of the courtiers. The courtier who has a straw in his beard has your ring." The courtier who had the emperor's ring was shocked and immediately moved his hand over his beard. Burble noticed this act of the courtier. He immediately pointed towards the courtier and said, "Please search this man. He has the emperor's ring." Akbar could not understand how Burble had managed to find the ring. Burble then told Akbar that a guilty person is always scared. Moral: a guilty conscience need no accuser. Crows in the kingdom. One day Emperor Akbar and Burble were taking a walk in the palace gardens. It was a nice summer morning and there were plenty of crows happily playing around the pond. While watching the crows, a question came into Akbar's head. He wondered how many crows were there in his kingdom. Since Burble was accompanying him, he asked Burble this question. After a moment's thought, Burble replied, "There are 95,463 crows in the kingdom." Amazed by his quick response, Akbar tried to test him again. "What if there are more crows than you answered?" Without hesitating, Burble replied, "If there are more crows than my answer, then some crows are visiting from other neighboring kingdoms." "And what if there are less crows?" Akbar asked. "Then some crows from our kingdom have gone on holidays to other places." Moral: there is always a way if you think with ease. The pot of the wit. Once Emperor Akbar became very angry at his favorite minister Burble. He asked Burble to leave the kingdom and go away. Accepting the command of the emperor, Burble left the kingdom and started working in a farmer's farm in an unknown village far away under a different identity. As months passed, Akbar started to miss Burble. He was struggling to solve many issues in the empire without Burble's advice. He regretted a decision, asking Burble to leave the empire in anger. So Akbar sent his soldiers to find Burble, but they failed to find him. No one knew where Burble was. Akbar finally found a trick. He sent a message to the head of every village to send a pot full of the wit to the emperor. If the pot full of wit cannot be sent, fill the pot with diamonds and jewels. This message also reached Burble, who lived in one of the villages. The people of the village got together. All started talking about what to do now. The wit is not a thing which can be filled in the pot. How will we arrange for diamonds and jewels to fill the pot and send to the emperor? Burble, who was sitting among the villagers, said, "Give me the pot, I will fill the wit in 1 month's send." Everyone trusted Burble and agreed to give him a chance. They still didn't know his identity. Burble took the pot with him and went back to the farm. He had planted watermelons on his farm. He selected a small watermelon and, without cutting it from the plant, he put that in the pot. He started looking after it by providing water and fertilizer regularly. Within a few days, the watermelon grew into a pot so much that it was impossible to get it out of the pot. Soon, the watermelon reached to the same size as the pot from inside. Burble then cut the watermelon from the vine and separated it with the pot. Later, he sent a pot to Emperor Akbar with a message that please remove the wit without cutting it from the pot and without breaking the pot. Akbar watched the watermelon in the pot and realized that this can only be Burble's work. Akbar himself came to the village, took Burble back with him. Moral: don't hasten the decision. Think hard to find a solution for the strangest situations. 100 gold coins and Burble. The wisdom of Burble was unparalleled during the reign of Emperor Akbar. But Akbar's brother-in-law was extremely jealous of him. He asked the emperor to dispense with Burble's services and appoint him in his place. He gave ample assurance that he would prove to be more efficient and capable than Burble. Before Akbar could take a decision on this matter, this news reached Burble. Burble resigned and left. Akbar's brother-in-law was made the minister in place of Burble. Akbar decided to test the new minister. He gave 300 gold coins to him and said, "Spend these gold coins such that I get 100 gold coins here in this life, 100 gold coins in the other world and another 100 gold coins neither here nor there." The minister found the entire situation to be a maze of confusion and hopelessness. He spent sleepless nights worrying how he would get himself out of this mess. Thinking in circles was making him go crazy. Eventually, on the advice of his wife, he sought Burble's help. Burble said, "Just give me the gold coins. I shall handle the rest." Burble walked the streets of the city holding the bag of gold coins in his hand. He noticed a rich merchant celebrating his son's wedding. Burble gave 100 gold coins to him and bowed courteously, saying, "Emperor Akbar sends you his good wishes and blessings for the wedding of your son. Please accept the gift he has sent." The merchant felt honored that the king had sent a special messenger with such a precious gift. He honored Burble and gave him a large number of expensive gifts and a bag of gold coins as a return gift for the king. Next, Burble went to the area of the city where the poor people lived. There he bought food and clothing in exchange for 100 gold coins and distributed them in the name of the emperor. When he came back to town, he organized a concert of music and dance. He spent 100 gold coins on it. The next day Burble entered Akbar's barber and announced that he had done all that the king had asked his brother-in-law to do. The emperor wanted to know how he had done it. Burble repeated the sequences of all the events and then said, "The money I gave to the merchant for the wedding of his son, you have got back while on this earth. The money I spent on buying food and clothing for the poor, you will get it in the other world. The money I spent on the musical concert, you will get neither here nor there." Akbar's brother-in-law understood his mistake and resigned. Burble got his place back. Moral: the money you spend on friends is returned or reciprocated in some form or the other. The money spent on charity gets converted into blessings from God, which will be your eternal property. The money spent on pleasures is just frittered away. So when you spend your money, think a little, if not a lot, dear listener. Please subscribe our YouTube channel to increase your English listening power through stories. Do not forget to share your opinions with us in the comments. Thanks for the listening.